Ideas are carried through different medias: print, television, radio, music, books, pamphlets, and the internet, influencing groups and individuals, encouraging unity in some contexts and fragmentation in others. We may live in what has been famously called the era of network society, while the traditional Muslim world, living in an enclosed shell, haven't realized that the era of ignorance and censorship has ended with the arrival of the internet platform. Quranic interpretations has been shackled for centuries by the conventions of medieval jurists, who had mastered the craft of chaining authoritative commentaries to prior authoritative ones, and of creating genealogies or chains of traditions of authoritative learning, diluting God's message, privatizing it. These issues are not new, and they are, for a matter of fact, old and suppressed issues. Our intent is to replace this long traditional nonsense with human reason on issues ranging from the role of women in society to rekindling a creative interaction with Western philosophies. We argue and strive that Muslims, traditional Muslims to be correct, should reinterpret sacred texts anew and apply them to contemporary social and moral issues. If Islam is sound for all times and places, then we must not neglect historical developments and the interaction of different generations. We must act as if the Prophet just informed us of this book and passed away yesterday, so we must read it with critical thinking of today. Our ideas directly challenge the authority of traditional Quranic exegesis, tafsir, collections of sayings of the Prophet, hadith, and Islamic jurisprudence, fiqh, that act like prison walls, limiting decisions to a collective group. The term qira'ah, which can mean either reading or interpretation, rather than the term exegesis, tafsir, which directly evokes the established conventions of traditional Islamic learning, from which we advocate a decisive break. For many traditional Muslims and establishment of religious learning, we argue that traditional disciplines of learning such as exegesis has implicitly acquired an authority equal to that of the Quran itself and override it if needed. As we explain, the four conventional schools of Islamic jurisprudence say little about isolation, tyranny, and absolutism, although they deal extensively with rules for inheritance and ritual cleanliness, and little about education, humanity, thinking, assimilation with the world. Because we proclaim faith in Islam as a worldwide belonging to everyone, but advocate a critical stance towards established conventions of authoritative learning, our approach goes to the heart of current debates about how to interpret Islam in the modern world and how the traditional Muslims fail to deliver this message as belonging to everyone and not their own. This school of thought vigorously offers an innovative approach to interpreting Islam and its relation to other faiths, prophetic tradition, the controversial limits, hudud, of Islamic law, women, and political Islam, including a head-on confrontation with advocates of tyranny and terrorism. And this is why we are here, to set the record straight from the source and helping traditional Muslims specifically to realize that extremism, fanatical ideology is not in the Quran, but rather interpretations and policies and teachings of religious scholars. Together, we will perform exorcism on crooked ideologies to purge religious scholars' rotten teaching to its rightful place, the garbage bin. Because there is a need to reinterpret ideas of religious authority and tradition and to apply Islamic precepts to contemporary society, yet popular resistance to such challenges to establish authority has also been intense. Our goal is to redefine how traditional Muslims and the West alike think about religion and sacred authority. In this series of videos, we boldly confront controversial issues and at the same time link the fundamentals of faith, and not just Islamic faith, to critical reason. This channel is a portal to critical reasoning, thoughts for the English-speaking world, offering a strong argument for a civil society that encompasses both traditional Muslims and the West alike. To think freely and away from the servitude of so-called Islamic scholars, especially the followers coming to the West carrying 1400 years of traditional nonsense. Our mission is one, raise awareness amongst traditional Muslims about the difference between following the main source of Islam, the Quran, and following a man-made religion guided by straight religious clerics. 2. Raise awareness amongst the Western world English-speaking non-Muslims interested in Islam, at least from a knowledge standpoint, that they have more in common with Islam than they think, and to correctly deal with today's deceived Muslims. 3. Counter-response and correct Islamophobic groups and broadcasts that are supported by ignorance, spreading fear and misinformation about Islam for their own private agenda. This channel is dedicated to all those throughout Islamic history whom paved the way, believing in logical, critical thinking, and sacrificed themselves to revive the thought that we can be free from the shackles of religious servitude, forwarding ideas to us. And a special dedication, gratitude, and thanks to our mentor, Dr. Engineer Muhammad Shahrur, who passed away on December 21st, 2019. We say, rest in peace, you've lit the torch and we have received it, and the march is on.